A few young Americans have already taken their own kind of draft deferment test, given at border crossing points, such as this one at Niagara Falls. The test usually consists of just a few questions. Where were you born? The United States. How long will you stay in Canada? The answer? Just a few days. But those days could stretch out into years, or even a lifetime. For those young men have come to Canada to dodge the draft.
I'm dodging the draft. I don't want to go to Vietnam.
And I came up here for the same reason, in order to get away from being drafted and put into the fighting of a war, which I don't see any reason and point to fighting.
Do you go along with Larry's description of himself as a draft dodger?
Well, I am one also, yes.
Joe, how about your reasons?
Well, I've been planning on skipping the draft since I was about 9 because I'm an American Negro and they want me to go out there and get killed for America's freedom when I can't walk in any restaurant that I want to in the States and order what I want to and stay there without them saying me, sorry, we don't serve colored.
3 young Americans living north of the border and finding open support for their beliefs.
You can count on these people for room and board, let's say. Is that right?
Oh, yeah. I don't work. I haven't worked yet.
This is Yorkville, Toronto's version of Greenwich Village. Here, some of the draft dodgers find shelter for their bodies and sympathy for their situation among the Canadian Beatle set. Some also find friendship, but very often the price is high. Homesick draft dodgers who want to spend some time back in the States and then return to their Canadian refuge can buy stolen Canadian identification. Birth certificates, driver's licenses, social security cards. We spoke with one black market dealer.
What would it cost an American boy to buy those documents?
$25, $30, depending on how good he wanted them. If you want a passport, it costs $200, $300. English passport or on the continental passports costs you $400 or $500.
Do you think business is going to pick up for you?
Yes, most likely will.
Millions of Americans enter Canada each year, businessmen, hunters, fishermen, other vacationers, plus a few would-be draft dodgers. Immigration figures, of course, give no clue as to how many Americans are in Canada to beat the draft. Tom Hathaway is one of them.
Well, there's a big rumor now that was started by one of the newspapers in Canada, in Toronto, that there are hundreds of draft dodgers suddenly coming to Canada and all living communally in the village. I haven't seen any evidence for it. I'm not in contact with them. We don't form a club of some sort. There are other draft dodgers in Canada, sure. I mean, they've been trickling over the border for 10, 20 years.
Larry, do you know how many people are here? Could you give me an estimate? In the city of Toronto, of course, there are other cities and other border points, etc.
Well, that's really very hard to say because most of the people who are dodging the draft don't talk about where they came from, or they don't talk about anything about dodging the draft. Few people really can discuss the matter.
You don't know of any round figures?
Oh, well, I know personally about 15 or 20.
Again, no one knows how many young American men have crossed the border at points like this to escape the draft. Canadian officials admit, frankly, that they cannot tell a student or a visitor from a draft dodger. And they add that it's entirely possible for a draft dodger, posing as a visitor or a student, to cross the border and simply disappear. Ike Pappas, CBS News, on the Canadian border.